Okay, so where we left off was SQL injection union attacks, finding column containing text, which is very useful to just find password hashes, that kind of thing. Most data that you want is going to be in text format, uh, and finding column that contains text when you're doing SQL injections is kind of important. Now, another part of SQL injections that want to do is retrieve data from other tables. So that's where we're going to be starting off from now. And everyone here, going to assume, is comfortable enough with SQL injection that this isn't going to be a crazy thing. My preferred tool for web hacking is Burp Suite. This is Burp Suite Community Edition right here. Um, The main difference between community and pro is you can't save a project, which is annoying, I would say, more than anything else. And then intruder is slowed down compared to uh, the uh, professional version, which is not intentionally limited in any particular way as far as I'm aware. Also gives you a banner to give them $600 for pro on the community edition. Um, so my preferred way is I don't really proxy anything. I just open up the Burp browser. I do it from there. Last Sunday Brunch, I also showed Kato, which is another web proxy tool. They're all basically the same, just with different coats of paint and slightly different ways in how things are presented to you. But overall, Burp Suite is the most well known, so that's one I'm going to be sticking to today. So SQL injection attack, retrieving data from other table. This one, again, Portswigger Labs, very good for learning, and this is part of the, because it's a learning lab, it gives you a little bit more information that you could figure out in other ways. So in this case, it tells you where the SQL injection is and where the results from the query are. It's going to tell you you're going to get the results from the query, and also tells you the name of the table that they want you to access. So when you click access the lab, it spawns up the lab and it'll redirect you in a couple of seconds to the lab. Um, uh, Portswigger Labs are always the subdomain of Web Security Academy with hyphens where there should be spaces, or if you were to write it out, .net. So if you want to write a scope or something like that, which I will show quickly, it's helpful. The reason why you'd want to set a scope when you're doing Burp Suite is so you only capture the traffic that's in scope, so you don't accidentally go out of scope or see something interesting that you're not allowed to touch and start accidentally messing with that because it showed up. And it just makes things a little bit easier. Um, Here, it's a basic shopping kind of lab. There's different refine your search. Here's all, which is the root directory. Accessories, which adds, can I make this any bigger? Go ahead and put that into mousepad. Which adds a slash filter path, and it has the URL parameter of category with the value of accessories. And if we go into Burp Suite, it's not going to be under intercept because intercept is off. It's going to be under HTTP history. And right here you can see the GET request. With Burp Suite, you can right click and send it to repeater, or my preferred method is to do just Control R, which is the default shortcut for sending it to repeater. And you can click send in here and you'll get a similar response back. I also like rendering the response because it's quicker for me at least to visualize it that way. And you can see where sometimes it works, other times it helps, other times it does not help. It's more situational, but I find that tends to help more often than not. Comes to using Burp Suite. Uh, so common SQL injection, just single quote, as I'm sure most of you know, just to test for SQL injection. Uh, Again, this is still the union query, so we'll get to that part second. And we get an internal server error right here. And there's a little bit of CSS around it, but we get internal server error, which is indicative that at least we're causing something to happen. um, and of course we can render this and see we get internal server error as well. And if we do two hyphens, which is a standard SQL comment for most SQL databases, then see we no longer get an error, which is indicative that we have now successfully done some kind of SQL injection, most likely. Could also be that's being filtered out by WAF or some other things as well. WAF is Web Application Firewall. Uh, um, but the most clear example is seeing if we can add our own SQL and if it gets executed. One of the best ways to do this, especially if the default query is returning multiple results, is just add a limit. So typical SQL have a couple of different kinds of statements. The one I'm going to be doing is limit and then 1 is what I'm going to be trying to add to the SQL query before commenting the rest out. So only adds 1 in there. Another way is you could do or 1 equals 1, but the issue with or 1 equals 1 is it could return everything in the table, which if there's subsequent operations happening that's not necessarily in the SQL itself, but the data is being parsed and maybe something's being deleted, it could be a lot more than what you want. So for labs, you can typically get away with or 1 equals 1, but it's considered bad practice to use or 1 equals 1 when testing for SQL injection. Now, if I just add limit 1, the color has changed. This used to be green, and that's because this is not URL encoded. Only this part needs to be URL encoded, and the two parts that actually do need to be encoded are the spaces. I know that it's just the plus sign to URL encode a space. Another option is you can select what you want to URL encode, and you can right click, convert selection URL, and you can do URL encode key characters. You can also use the shortcut Control U. And if you have, if things are double encoded or what have you, and you want to bring it back, the Control Shift U is super helpful in which decodes URL encoding and can help you just work on a more raw level. So with this, should get one result back. And from right now, we have confirmed we can execute SQL on the actual server. Again, we were told we could essentially buy the SQL injection by injecting here, but it's always good to confirm it and do it in a non-destructive way, which is what the limit 1 does for us. Does anyone have any questions about that part? Okay. Um, Now, we know we have data from table called users because we were told about the table users uh, from Portswigger themselves, which has columns, username, password, and we want to retrieve all usernames, passwords, and use the information to log in as the administrator user. Uh, so I do want to check how many columns there are. So with union tax, you need to match how many columns you are bringing over because a union attack just adds, you have your one set of SQL data, and in traditional SQL, you're just adding to that first pile with data from another table or something like that. But because you're adding to it, it needs to match the structure, and as such, you need the same amount of columns in there. So let's remove the limit 1. We can also send this to a new tab, which is what I'll do for demonstration purposes. So we can keep this tab as our proof of SQL injection, and this as our tab of exploitation in Repeater. Just as helpful for workflows, so you're not like, am I going crazy? Was there actually any SQL injection or anything like that? Uh, Union, the SQL data, like if we had, let's say, in this example, table users, which has columns, username, password, but we're working off of table blog, which has columns of title and description, or table shop. Then how we would combine, and we're doing like select title from shop, where title equals, right? Uh, this is essentially the SQL that's running on their end, roughly, I believe. Again, I don't know how many columns there are, that kind of thing right now. But where we're injecting is right here is our injection point by adding that essentially to the SQL query, commenting this out. This is, again, depends on it's done. Sometimes you need to add your own semicolons, sometimes you don't. In most Portswigger labs, you do not. In Hack the Box, you tend to need to do it. In Hack the Box Academy, you tend to need to do it, and it depends on what you're doing for it. There's a lot of minutia depending on what you're doing. But anyways, uh, in traditional SQL, just want to add in union select username from or password from users where username equals administrator. This is what we want the SQL to look like. Um, this is what the what should roughly be going on the back end um, from there. But first, we need to know this is an abbreviated shop. Little example. Yeah, we don't know how many columns are in shop or whatever table we're currently executing from. And that's the first goal, and then we can match that by using, let's say, nulls, for example, um, in the second one. Because if we just wanted the password, we can do title, description, and we can add in null right here, and this would act as just an empty second column. Union, select null from users. Again, just adding in uh, spaces, which is plus signs in URL encoding, and this will most likely get a server error back, and this is likely from 9F columns. Now, the good thing with doing when you're testing columns, especially any select statement, is I find it easier to just have the comma. You don't need to have a space in between. You can add a space right here if you really wanted to, but you can just do a comma as well. And now we've selected nothing from users, but we do know we now have the right amount of columns because we are no longer getting the error that initially we suspected to be part of SQL injection. When we tried singular column, now we have second one. And we can also add extra parameters here. Again, the lab helps us out a lot, and it tells us the columns in there, which is also an assumption for it to be 2-column based as well on there. Can in username and password. And now we have in between every single post, we have one as well. Again, depending on what you're doing, this is fine. We have what we need. We can solve the lab right now because we have administrator and we have the administrator password. But I think it's easier if you only need to check one post. So if we add in a where cause, where username equals now should we only get the exact user we want, and we can also add in limit 1 as well to this first part to limit the amount of data we need to deal with. I think this needs to be at the end. Um, Again, there's a lot of fancy SQL things you can do on it to try and make it easier to parse, but at the end of the day, this is probably among the easiest way to parse it, is to just only grab the data you necessarily want on here. So I'm just going to copy the administrator password, and I'm going to solve it in my Firefox tab, my account, and this is standard Portswigger lab administrator. Just paste in their password, log in, and we now have administrator login, and it now marks the lab as solved as well. Sometimes you need to refresh the page to get the solve. If you are using intercept, that can easily block it as well because that's done through WebSockets, I believe, for determining that. Yeah, that's retrieving data from other tables with union tags, which is one of the more common examples of SQL injection. Um, Another useful thing with union is retrieving multiple values in a single column as well. So if you only have, again, this one tells us there's a table called users with columns username and password. We want to log in as the administrator user. Access lab, get that going. Uh, Accidentally close the browser. I know it takes a second or two to spin up the Portswigger lab, but here's the new one. And this is where it can be more important to set proper scope, or you might want to refresh your browser, so that way you only your burp project, you only are working on one web target at a time. Um, Again, depends on the workflow you want to have. But as long as you can read carefully and you're aware that it's probably not best practice, you're fine. Um, but right here you can see the subdomain changed. So this is the start of it. This is just the general extra Portswigger information they give you. And assuming it's going to be the same injection point uh, here, and again we see the same filter categories thing that we saw before, just with on a different subdomain. So I'm going to click on the appropriate request where we have the category. Control R, send that to repeater into a tab 3. So send it, render, looks the same as before, again with the accessories. If we do the single quote, get the error, we can do a limit 1 and hyphen everything out, and we only get one result back, confirming we have SQL injection on it. Union plus in select union, yeah, union select. Then here is where things get kind of fun. Could return just the password, but then we don't know who it belongs to. We could do a where clause and search for the administrator user, but if we want to return both, can do is here second, if it's username, password, from users. Believe that's the appropriate syntax. If that's not, oh, that's why. Union username, password, and just to confirm, we can't do the same thing as before because it's only returning single column. We're getting server error. I just change it to usernames. Here, you can select name from users. You can select it, right? Yep, you can select. If I just change this to null, just to see. Server error, okay. So in this case, the number of columns I think is, okay, so there's 2 columns. Is this a string column though? This is another thing you may have to do is determine what data type is in each column. So if you do an empty string, you can confirm this is a string column, or the data type that gets returned in this column is a string. Um, there's other things you can do. You could try error-based SQL injection where you try converting like string to a number and that kind of thing, and it may give you the information if you can see a raw SQL error, that kind of thing. See, yep, we get, but if we try string here, we get server error. So the first column, it is 2 columns, but only 1 column has string data in there, which is why it doesn't work. And we could just try like password from users, and then we have 3 passwords to try. Could also do add in the where username equals plus administrator as well, and this would only give us 1 password, but what if you don't know that the administrator username is administrator? It could be Dusty Cheeto, for example, you know? Um, so that's where you want to do string concatenation.
I would never do
So,
that, by the way.
hmm?
I would never do that, by the way.
Yep,
Use
definitely.
Cheeto as administrator. Never.
As the administrator user, not even on your own computer.
It's on the open web. Definitely cannot use it.
Yep. But we have only one injectable column, or at least useful data right now for us to inject into. This is where we're going to be doing the SQL injection. So I'm actually going to bring up my own SQL notes. Show. These are my SQL notes because I forgot the syntax for it. There's here. Okay. Uh, right. This is what the syntax is on there. Again, it's always interesting syntax right here. Of course, yeah, that's the greatest username and password combination. Ew. Um, so if we can set but the goal is to set a single character that we know as the delimiter. And if it's something Oz like the tilde character, that's typically not used in passwords, even from password managers. Then we can combine name. Uh, there's no comma here. Here and again can just need a couple of spaces, but I find sometimes it's easier to for me to do it as I'm typing. Other times I use the conversion tool. Other times, like I just did, I go back and do it myself. Um, but this is where we can get administrator username, and if we didn't have the where clause, we would see everyone else as well in there, where we have everyone's usernames and passwords all in one query, which is helpful from a attacker's perspective, because now this could be only one SQL query to actually grab the data they need instead of making multiple and trying to make assumptions and that kind of thing. And the tilde again is acts as punctuation, so you can just double click on it and it selects the entire string instead of just just the password string instead of the entire administrator tilde password string there. And again, I'll solve this in Firefox. standard administrator, that's password, and we have now logged in as administrator. Again, this is all super bad practice because you have raw passwords in the SQL database where it can be easily dumped. At least hatch the passwords with some hatch algorithm, ideally not MD5, but as long as it's not plain text, it's better than nothing, and ideally salted as well. Does anyone have like any kind of questions or anything like that so far? Okay. Yeah, that's one way to do it. I don't. That's still not very secure because was it only like six did just punch at SHA-256 with epoch time salt, which is a little bit of spoiler for slow poor CTF for one of the challenges, but technically this hatch is not salted. The password is salted though in that technique. Um, and even then, the salt is only what 8 digits long, which is not that great of a salt. Yeah, so that's injection with union tag retrieving multiple values in a single column. If you want to see this solved, you have to refresh the browser tab. That's just how it goes for that. Uh, Table, blind SQL with conditional responses, conditional errors. Blind SQL is worst. Have about 15 minutes, so I'll try and do you guys want to see me try and speedrun through blind SQL injection with conditional responses, or we can go with another one as well? And we can go over the 15 minutes. It's all okay for it. Let's go. Uh, all like pain and suffering is what I'm learning. SQL get application includes welcome back if the query returns any rows, contains table called users, names with columns of username password, find password of the administrator user. This tracking cookie, SQL of the cookie. Again, this is all stuff find. Naturally, it would just take a lot more time, which is why the lab tells you that if the SQL query returns anything from the cookie parameter already being in the database, then you're good. Otherwise, you're not good on here. This one, I'm going to do in Cato because this one will be requires intruder, which is very slow in the community edition. And that's one reason you may switch from one web proxy to another. Another option is actually to use FUF. That yeah, that is one option. With this one, I don't think you could easily do it in FUF. If there's a will, there's a way. I think it would be easier to script in Python than to do it. I think Burp Suite Intruder would actually be the easiest way to set it up. So I'll show you that way because it's the easiest way to set up. On Community Edition, it would probably be the slowest to actually exploit it once you get it going. But you don't have to write custom Python script. You don't have to create a batch script and crazy arguments in FUF. FUF is a fuzzing web app tool that's used for all sorts of things. Hack the Box has a very good Academy module on it, um, but there's a lot to it. So it's proxy, go into it, here's query, here's the category of pets. Actually, I don't think that's important. I think here have home. If I refresh the page, I think I'll see back. If I just click on all, yeah, I see the welcome back now. This is the part that we're exploiting is we have the welcome back. The thing with most courses is all of their web apps look the same uh, when you're going through the individual labs, but when you get to like the tests or skills assessments, they switch it up. So make sure you understand why something works and not just where something works, which can be hard to do. Uh, so send to repeater. Uh, we have top. Uh, Here we don't quite have it yet. They are trying to set cookie of tracking ID and session D. Um, I'm actually going to do this one because the browser accepts a web request properly and has set the cookies right here, just so I don't have to uh, set the cookies myself. Okay, send it. Just make sure we get everything we need. We have lab not solved. Give me a second. And then we have the welcome back text right here. And I believe this is the cookie that we want to mess with. So if I just set this to a single quote, uh, we do not have the welcome back anymore. So again, we cannot see what query is being run, uh, but we can see the result of the query of if we gain error or no error, which can be difficult to determine if you're even on the right path because of that. Um, Union, select username from users where username plus equals reader, comment it all out afterwards, and we should see welcome back. Another thing we can do is in Burp Suite, they have good little search bar, and we can add in come back, and we don't get any matches because it's not there. Where if I type username correctly, that would help a lot. But we do get a match. So this is a way where without scrolling through everything, you can see if you triggered it or not using Burp Suite. Another way would be the response size as well. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can do it, but if you're using Burp Suite, use the tools that you have and things can go pretty well. So now is where things get fun. I'm going to refer back to my notes on not blind SQL, or yeah, blind SQL. Yeah, check length. This is from when doing the uh, uh, Portswigger Labs is where most of these notes come from. Where want to do select password now, and I still want the where clause, but I also going to add in and then I'm going to call a SQL function. So if you've ever done any programming before, you might have needed to check how long a string is. SQL has the same thing, and we can use that to our advantage. We can do length password is greater than 1, uh, then I think should be needed. No, length. Think this needs to be part of a substring. Um, yeah, I'm going to do this as a SQL subquery, not substring, subquery that does it like this. There, name administrator, uh, and or I can check the length this way, but you can also do it with equal signs. Um, uh, um, length sign. Um, if I just do and um, here, and then if I do a uh, subquery select, then I just need a second one right there. That equals a think should be maybe. Blind SQL is one of the worst things in existence. I do have to say. I'm going to copy from my notes here. I'm going to go back to where I had the entire thing, and I'm going to inject it from here. Uh, then the proper way to do it is to make sure everything is URL encoded because, again, things can get messed up all of the time. But I want to make sure that when I doing something, get the full SQL query. Do not get the welcome back in here. From here, going to take a quick look at the solution tracking cookie. Yep, you have SQL and select A. To select A from users. Oh, I missed one single character. That's why. Um, and now we have the welcome back, and now we can check the length. So quick way to do this is I'm just going to select the one now, and I'm going to do the two ways to send it to repeater is right click send to intruder, or you can hit Control I. Because I have the one highlighted, when I do that, it automatically adds in their positional. And now I can add in simple list, and I can add in uh, numbers, and I want it from 1 to 20. And there's, again, the only thing, the only two things they have limited in Intruder is you don't have the built-in word lists from Pro that make it easier to put in potential usernames, passwords, pre-built lists of that kind of stuff, and the speed. Those are the only two things that are different. So I'm going to go from 1 to 20. I think it is 20, so I'm just going to put in 100. Um, and this is just going to check if it's greater than. We can also check if it's equals to as well. Um, I think equals to is just harder, is easier if once you get it to intruder, but you have to know, have a good idea if it'll work or not, because you can't just test, well, the length should probably be greater than 1 and have it be true. So for intruder, I am going to set it to equals because this will give us a more clear result. I'll do greater than first, and then I'll set it to equals and show you why it's a little bit easier. So again, you get the warning that Community Edition contains demo version of Burp Intruder. Some functionality is disabled and attacks are time throttled. Um, Visit us for Burp Suite Professional, which contains the full version. So as you can see, the length for the first couple of payloads is 11,518. If we change that up at 26, or 20, is started being the length of 11,457 exactly. Um, and so that's how you can tell is at 20, because it's just a greater than, the second's no longer greater than, and it is now equal to, it's now going to return this length. Um, I'm going to stop the attack, and I'm going to show the equal sign now, and why that's a little bit easier, because, and I'm also going to limit to 25, because we know it's on request 20, but just so it shows a little bit before and after, now we see the same 11,457 length, which if you're doing fuff on, you would set this to as the ignore length in there, which would be flag-fs or filter size in here. And again, it can be hard to miss if you're just looking at it. That's why I like to look at which the size is typically the main indicator. It can also be status code. Those are the two I look at. I click on the top where it shows the up arrow now. So if I go to the top, this is smallest to largest. Again, from my perspective, there's no difference yet, but once I click it, hey, this one is longer. I now know that's 20 characters long. 20 characters is going to be fairly slow, but I do think it's all lowercase and numbers only, I think. So now we know how long the password is, and we just need to determine what the password is. Again, use a freaking hash. Now, this will also work against hashes. So if it's an insecure password hashing algorithm like SHA-256 with epoch appended to the end of it, you can brute force it. Uh, So now we want to go into intruder. We know the password length equals 20. So if I set this 20, that's where we're going to see the welcome back in here. But if any has ever needed to mess with the size of strings before, so in Python, that'd be uh, new like data equals right hackers and hops. And assuming this is the Python programming language, we could print data 1 or 0, and this would print the capital H. And what we want to do is set this to, we would just increase this incrementally all the way up to 19 because it's 0 indexed and all of that kind of stuff. SQL is not 0 indexed. The indexing starts at 1, not 0, like Lua, and I think definitely a couple other programming languages, and that kind of thing. Um, but the goal is to get all 20 characters. I don't think that's 20 characters. In the strings of this would be an error in Python, but whatever. Um, close the intruder. Again, you can keep in memory or you can discard it. If you have the pro edition, it'll have the extra thing of save to the project file, and then you have it in the project file, which you can back up and look at later. In our case, for this lab, we don't really need it, but we now know the length, and we just want to check the character. So the two ways we can check the characters is we can check if it's greater than or equal to um, a specific character. If we do greater than, we can binary search the character. So if the password was only like 5 characters long, you could probably do it manually. I would still probably want to brute force it just so I didn't have to have like a binary tree of the entire English alphabet and special characters to reference, or an ASCII table to reference. Um, but what we can do is we can do a substring uh, right here, and that's going to here, and I'm going to remove the length. Um, and I'm going to change this to be greater than again, and I'm going to set this to M, which is the about middle character of the uh, entire uh, uh, of the English alphabet. Also going to remove the and. I'm going to put the ending parentheses here, and I'm going to set this to look at the first character. And we may not see, so I'm going to set this to greater than A. And we do not see. Select, oh, we don't want to select A, we want to select password. Password properly. Um, how's it going, Pontogonist? This is being recorded, just FYI. Okay, and we see the welcome back exclamation point, which means it is greater than A. So the um, the easiest way to kind of set this up. So the way substring works is this is the starting index, and this is how long of the substring it is returning. So this we always want to set to 1 in this example because we want to test each character individually, and this is the character we'd want to change out, and then this is the operator. So I'm going to send this to equal sign, and I'm going to select U and U. I think I need to do all. Nope. Going to send it to intruder with just the one selected, and I'm going to select the A and also add one. This is where we're going to get into the different kind of intruder attacks. The two I tend to use are sniper attacks and cluster bomb attacks. Um, Sniper attacks is you have one position, one payload set, or you only check one position at a time using a single payload set. Battering ram is one payload across all positions, same time. Pitchfork is if you have a list of, well, it's this user with this password. If you are trying, if you have old passwords and that kind of thing, you can um, credential stuffing? No, I forget what the proper password attack term for it is, but if you know, well, if it's this email, if this password was in a breach, you would want to do a pitchfork attack, where each set is lined up. So if you have, like, if I have these two lists in here of, can have admin, uh, Dave, Andy, right? And then I can have the passwords for each one. Admin, their exposed password was admin, right? For Dave, it was uh, uh, pass. It was dogs, right? For Andy, their exposed password was simply password, right? uh, if we know these are the appropriate usernames to appropriate passwords, you'd do the pitchfork attack. Um, Or if you are just doing a blind brute force, you would do a cluster bomb attack. This is what we're going to be doing. This is incredibly slow, but it does work. So with simple list, the payload type for this one is going to be numbers of 1 to 20, because that's how long we determined the administrator password to be. For this one right here, for payload position 2, which is the A, this going set to alphabet. There's probably lowercase characters, GitHub. Um, you can just paste in as long as it's separated by new lines, which is what I'm trying to find. Likes ChatGPT will probably give it to me. um, on the pro version of Burp Suite, they already have that pre-built out, so it's very quick to set up the attacks for this. So ask anything, give me all lowercase English characters on new lines in a code block. And do the same for numbers 1 through, or 0 through 9. And that's one way to do it. And again, I hope everyone knows their ABCs so you can verify it pretty quickly. Paste it in. We have that again from that from list. On the pro version, that has actual data in there, and that could automatically do that basically. And here's all of the numbers. You can paste this in as well. We have all of that. And now we can start attack. There's 720 requests that wants to make, so this is going to take quite a while. And again, the length is how you would sort it by which one is biggest. So right here we know the 10th character of their password is A. So one way to keep track, this is definitely not the best way, but it is an easy way. So probably more people than should keep track of it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, I'm going to expand this so it's all in one line. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This one is A, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And last character is lowercase b as well. And this is just going to take quite a while to go through. Kaido, you could do this in Kaido as well with probably about equal. It would go a lot faster because they don't limit their version of intruder, which they call repeater. Not repeater. They call automate, I think, is what they call their version of intruder. Um, but it does take a while, and if you're not on the pro version, you would probably want to do this in Python or FUF, and it would be significantly faster. With FUF, I typically get speeds of about 300 requests a second, so this would have brute forced the password in a little bit over 2 seconds from my personal experience against targets that can support that kind of traffic. Um, but Burp is very easy to set up, which is the case I will make for it. If I do open up Burp Suite Pro, give me a second. Um, um, Attacking what version DB it like the database. Portswigger uses PostgreSQL, I think. We can take look. I don't know if we could get this version. We probably could get this version. It would just be very painful to get it. We also have the 19th character, which is lowercase d here. Just going to copy all of these really quickly and then show the intruder instance again. Just give it a quick second. just setting up Intruder Pro real quick. So do it. So again, real quick, here's the slash with the cookie set. Send this to Peter. In this case, I'm just stealing the payload from Community Edition, where I'm just going to grab you. Going to set this to intruder. Intruder, just add that right here. And again, these characters are kind of like virtual characters in Burp Suite. So again, in Pro, you can add from list. So there's the lowercase characters, and there's the uh, uh, numbers all just done there. Cluster bomb. Um, oh, I need to clear these because that's wrong. This one's going to be numbers of 1 to 20, and in 2, it's going to be A to Z and 0 through 9. If I start the attack, is window, and it's already done. Again, it's not limited to any particular uh, speed. So now it's already gotten over halfway through the payload set on Pro. That's the use case. That's one of the use cases for Burp Pro is it's already finished the entire thing. So now um, showing showing all items, we can search for this. We can also show come back, uh, apply, and now that will only show the length. And now we can sort by payload 1. And now Sublime Text is my preferred um, standard text editor. So now no, it's TLPJ3F7QQA0SUB B UB PK3UDB, and that's the entire password. Versus the virtual machine, their intruder, which it's not even close to being done. So again, Burp Suite is the easiest, I think, the easiest way to set up the attack. There's a lot of other ways you can do the attack, but I think Burp Suite is the easiest way to set up the attack and at least get proof of concept going. Because, for example, if we only wanted to test the first character, so if we just cleared that one, um, this is only 20, and we can check, or we would set this to be simple list, and we would add in the ChatGPT lists for here. I'm just going to close this window and paste. And you can also load in from a runtime file as well. Paste, and this is only 36 requests. Because I still have on cluster bomb, I'm going to switch it to sniper attack because we're only attacking that one. Yes, it's the demo version, but this will go a lot faster because it's 36 requests and we're only testing single position. We don't have to constantly change it. There's lots of ways to get to this point, but I think Burp is the easiest way to set up once you know what you're doing. And with that, let's actually just log in as administrator with that and make sure it's the correct password.
So is that Web Academy free?
Yep, The pro version of Burp Suite is not free, and I got the
How much is
password
that?
wrong. Too much. Uh, 475.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
A year?
Yep. This equals. If that's E1, that would explain it. That's for payload position. One, PJ, 3, F7, QQA, 0, SUB, PK3U, UDB. Okay. Uh, really? Come on.
I think that second position might be a capital I.
Yeah, you might be right. Nope. Well, that's the fun part of this. Not really fun, but well, we can always check. Uh, change this to 2. Start attack. Yes, yes, I know this is the demo version. Thank you very much. But yeah, any questions or anything like that? Oh, it can't be capital I because it's only lowercase and numbers, so it could not be capital I. Um, looks like it's lowercase l. Um, I mean, just to make sure I'm pasting the right thing in here. Uh, right, and it was, yeah, administrator. Okay, I have no idea why, but that ended up being the way to paste in from my host into the VM to submit it for the lab.
You probably had some invisible characters in there.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, so what are people's thoughts, feelings about this Sunday brunch?
I think that was great. It was a good refresher of the basics of SQL injection and blind SQL injection, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
agree.
really, yeah, went over a lot of the stuff that I learned in that PEH course on TCM.
Yeah, you kind of have to keep doing it to remind yourself of all of the little parts of SQL injection because there's quite a lot there.
Right. Yeah.
Couldn't you just wrote a Python script request
Yes,
send to the
yes, I said that before. I don't know if you were
okay.
here during that part, but you could use that instead of burp suite intruder. I think it's, again, I think in terms of setup, if you're already using burp suite to do the things, that's the easiest way. If you're just using like browser dev tools and you're using curl commands and that's how you're testing it, then I think
Yeah.
Python would be the easiest way to set up from there. But if you're already in burp, intruder's the easiest setup for it. There's no right way to do web app testing as long as you know what you're doing and how you're doing it, or at least the basics of what you're doing. But tools definitely help a lot.
Yeah. Burp seems like you could pivot a lot easier
Hmm.
as opposed to just doing it old school.
Yep.
Browser inspect.
Yeah. If I go into here, go into ChatGPT, new chat, is for a CTF. Make a make a Python script that brute forces each character of the password, which is 20 characters long. Right, and this will have a whole bunch of extra stuff. The other benefit is this takes the request from the full browser, so the Python script is probably a little bit bigger than you would make it because of all of the headers it's adding. That's not necessarily needed. I said this is for a CTF.
It started to, but then it was like, nope.
Yep. Well, if that's ChatGPT, at least with Claude, it'll like immediately do it. For a port Sugar Lab CTF and demo to show other ways than just burp intruder. This is why local AI is fantastic, and I'm looking forward to the Sunday brunch after the next Sunday brunch, where we're going to be showing local large language models, which often have significantly lower standards, if any, than online models like ChatGPT, whatnot. Give me one quick second. T T3, Gemini, medium. Here you go.
That's why it's always good to have lower standards, so you're never disappointed.
Yeah. Well, you won't be disappointed. You'll just get what you at least think you want. Uh, this is T3 chat, which is like it's a one-stop web thing that has most of the models in here. If you want some of them, you need to bring your own key. Others are premium models and they limit the usage significantly more. So like for standard messages, you have 1500. For premium, you only have 100 messages a month for that. But Gemini tends to be a go-to for a reason, I'll say, for a lot of this kind of stuff. So I'm going to go into here, go into mouse add new, just paste it here. Again, this is probably significantly longer than you would make it but it is what it is. I'm going to refresh the page and make sure the lab is still active. So that way I don't accidentally try and hack into some. Yep, okay. After you solve it, it is alive for a couple of minutes, but not super long time. But you could set up a Python script as well that can do it. And this is what ChatGPT gave chat.py. Yeah, that's fine. Second, as I install a text editor, yes, I know VI, probably Vim, and Nano are already on the system, so sue me. But any other questions or feedback or anything like that?
No, good stuff, man. I appreciate the chat. That was very informative. Good stuff.
Yep. But this is doing it. I think they also have some sleep to try and not. Yeah, it sleeps for a small delay to not completely break the web application. So it's a little bit nicer than not much, but this would do it a little bit slower than Burp Intruder Pro by default as well, because Intruder uses 10 threads by default with no limit on how fast it can go. So Intruder would technically still be faster than this Python script, but this would definitely be faster than the Community Edition. With that, I'm going to end the recording.